force and capacity that the Iranians have now. They seem pretty able during the 12-day war.
Right.
Because they did a lot of damage to Israel. They did a lot of damage.
I know.
Some people argue Israel said uncle, and that's the reason the war really stopped. How much more do they have now that they've amassed since the 12-day war?
I think it's a decent amount. Now, I've heard up to 3,000 missiles a month are being produced.
If there was one point that I could tell all of you that it is, we can look at the timeline of the past several weeks and say, okay, that's the moment we know for sure that war is about to happen on Iran. I think when they started sending that second carrier strike group over the Gerald Ford, the most powerful carrier strike group that the U.S. has to offer, I think that was probably a very big moment. I think another big moment was this right here, what we saw not too long ago. We saw this just several hours ago. Trump gave a statement at his Board of Peace meeting where he said, so now we may have to take it a step further, or we may not. Maybe we're going to make a deal. You're going to be finding out over probably the next 10 days. So let's listen to this full statement. And I want to give this statement to you in tandem with the fact that just a few days ago, Trump was saying, well, we'll let the Iranians and Witkoff and Kushner negotiate for the next month. We'll give it a month. Now he's saying 10 days. Is that not a clear indication to all of you? I mean, that's a pretty clear sign, I think, that this is all bullshit. The decision has already been made. The time has probably even been decided when they're going to do this. They probably have like 2 or 3 different slots, windows in which they could carry out an operation. And I think that this is all for show. I really do. I think this is a bunch of slop.
You couldn't have had peace in the Middle East. So now we may have to take it a step further, or we may not. Maybe we're going to make a deal. You're going to be finding out over the next probably 10 days.
So 10 days. He gives them 10 days after saying just a few days ago that they'll have a month to negotiate. Now, at the same time that he's been saying, these negotiations are going so well, those are obvious lies that they were pushing because the negotiations were not going well. Israel came in and made a bunch of demands, and Jared Kushner said, yes, sir, we will make sure that we try to force Trump to move forward on these demands. And they were sending in tons of military assets to the region. We'll be right back with our video, but first, a quick word from our sponsor, Atomic Minerals. On January 5th, 2026, the U.S. Department of Energy announced $2.7 billion in contracts to restore domestic uranium enrichment capabilities. This isn't just spending, it's a declaration of intent. America needs uranium, domestic uranium, and it needs it now. Here's the reality. The U.S. consumes over 50 million pounds of uranium annually, but produces less than 1 million pounds domestically. That means we're dependent on foreign suppliers for roughly 98% of our uranium, a major vulnerability for national security, power generation, and advanced defense systems. The White House has made it clear America must rebuild its own nuclear fuel supply chain, a vision that makes a whole lot more sense than fighting endless wars for energy assets overseas that never materialize for the American consumer. That's where Atomic Minerals comes in, trading under ATOM on the TSX Venture and ATMMF on the OTC. This isn't a new team. Leadership includes members who were part of the discovery and subsequent $654 million sale of the Rough Rider uranium deposit to Rio Tinto, an exit roughly 59 times larger than Atomic's current valuation. Atomic controls 4 100% owned uranium projects in the historic Colorado Plateau, a region that has produced over 597 million pounds of uranium. Their flagship project, South Lisbon Valley East in Utah, sits inside a district that alone has produced 80 million pounds. The geology works, the history proves it. Meanwhile, uranium prices have surged from $28 per pound in 2017 to around $95 per pound in 2026, and some analysts project prices could exceed $100 as supply tightens. You've got a government mandate backed by $2.7 billion right now. You've got a proven team with $654 million in track record, and you've got strategic uranium assets in America's historic uranium province. You want to learn more about this critical mineral story and the team that has already already delivered big results, check out the link in the description below, and a special thanks to Atomic Minerals for making today's video possible. Trump has also received several briefings on military options against Iran already. The options include a campaign to kill scores of Iranian political and military leaders with the goal of overthrowing the government. So, you know, I listen to this, I look at this is from the Wall Street Journal, and I say, how does that even make any sense? The Iranians have already said that they have a succession plan in place where if, in fact, these government leaders are taken out, they have a succession plan in place 2, 3, 4 branches down the line as to how they would fill the voids of people who are possibly going to be unalived. They've already planned for all of this, okay? In addition to that, we saw that the U.S. has deployed 3 E-3 Sentry airborne early warning and control planes around Iran. So they have basically everything there now. I don't understand what else they could possibly send to the region. They have 1/5 of all United States 5th generation fighter jets there. They have 2/3 of the U.S. Navy there. They've basically got everything they could ever want there. And according to new reports, we saw Iran has rejected the U.S. proposals that were presented during negotiations in Geneva this week and instead offered modest concessions on the nuclear program. U.S. officials say the impasse is unlikely to be broken. Now, I say to this that why would the Iranians accept anything less than the JCPOA? Why would they accept anything less than the deal that Trump pulled out of? Doesn't make any sense to me after they showcased their strength during the 12-day war, during Operation True Promise 1 and 2 as well. They showed that they can defend themselves. They showed that they can strike all of Israel's most sensitive military intelligence headquarters, military command centers, air bases, the command centers, the infrastructure, vital infrastructure, basically anything and everything that they could possibly want to target inside of Israel. They have the capacity to do that. So why would they accept something less than the JCPOA? So here are some comments from Stas Krapivnik, someone that we have on Legitimate Targets quite often, discussing the likelihood of war and basically what is to come, possibly over the next few weeks, if this does in fact take place.
As you know, let me ask you this question, since we're talking about some of the actual force and capacity that the Iranians have now. They seem pretty able during the 12-day war.
Right.
Because they did a lot of damage to Israel. They did a lot of damage.
I know.
Some people argue Israel said uncle, and that's the reason the war really stopped. Of course, that's yet to be determined, or it's arguable. But how much more do they have now that they've amassed since the 12-day war? I hear a lot. They say a lot. Could it be a lot?
I think it's a decent amount. Now, I've heard up to 3,000 missiles a month are being produced. I don't know. And I don't know what kind of missiles.
That would be a lot.
That would be a lot. I don't know if they're the 2,000-kilometer ballistics or they're 500-kilometer cruise missiles. That's what I've heard. I can't say yes or no because, I'm not there. That's a state secret. Israel took 6% damage. How do we know 6% damage? Because a couple hackers went in and they looked up the amount of buildings that were damaged and needed repairs, the orders that were going in. And they calculated out somewhere between 5 and 6% of the structures in Israel got damaged or destroyed. That's a 12-day war. And the Iranians weren't particularly trying to destroy high populous areas. They're still mostly hitting bases. So if this escalates into a full-on war, Israel's small. Most of the people are concentrated in several large cities. You can't miss a target because there's just not that much room for error. No matter where it falls, it's going to fall on somebody's head because everybody's concentrated in. Iran, 93 million people, and it's the size of Germany and France combined. Yeah, it's huge and it's mountainous. So it's a country that can absorb much more damage than the Israelis.
Now, as we were listening to that clip, the United States Air Force has deployed 5 more KC-135 refueling jets from Kansas toward the region. So, again, I say it seems like they can't send anything else, but it seems as though they're willing to empty out all of our reserves in the United States to send to the region. I mean, this is absolutely insane that they're still sending more over today, those E3 Sentries and these as well. We saw this out of Tehran today. Iran's leader Khamenei held a Quran recitation gathering, and the international Quran reciters and professors on the occasion of the start of Ramadan. So, you know, the United States, they tell you that Khamenei is like hiding in a bunker or something, and he's fearful for his life. He thinks that the U.S. is going to bomb him or Israel is going to bomb him. He's out and about. He's holding public meetings. He's sitting with 500 young Iranian men, and it looks as though he has no fear on his face. He said that every single American soldier knows what awaits them if they try to set foot in Iran. He looks completely relaxed. I don't know. I think Trump is the one who looks worried. Netanyahu, I don't even know where that guy is. He's in some like underground tunnel on his way to Cyprus, I'd imagine. So Khamenei is looking very relaxed. He's looking very happy. He doesn't look like he's fearful of anything. And as for the infrastructure, the vital infrastructure in Iran, nuclear sites, ballistic missile sites, look at this video here. You can see how they have hardened the structures of their most vital assets in Iran within just a few weeks. This is the Talkan 2 facility at a strategic base in Parchin. It looks like they've basically protected it from any sort of attack. I mean, maybe one of those Moabs or the bunker busters could get in there, but this is a lot of protection that is being done in a very small amount of time. And that's why the Iranians, personally, I believe, are even doing these negotiations. I think it's to buy time and to build up their defenses as much as possible. I think that the Iranians are probably even willing to give fake concessions and lie to the United States just so they could buy more time to do stuff like this, because this is vital. Now, the question as to whether or not the U.S. is believing this, I think that time has run out. I don't think that they're believing that Iran is actually serious about negotiations, let alone the insane demands that are being put forward by Jared Kushner, Netanyahu's top puppet. We also see photos like this. So Iran is taking their defenses more seriously. These are drone nets for missile and air defense, artillery systems as well. And this was one of the biggest problems during the 12-day war. They had to take a lot of their air defense systems and basically put them back into the ground, into safekeeping, because of these internal drone attacks that were taking place from the Mossad saboteurs. So this is a safeguard against any sort of internal sabotage that they may try to commit against the air defense systems. And frankly, I think that they have neutralized most of the threat after the 12-day war, after the Mossad riots, which took place at the start of the month in January. And, this is just, I guess, icing on the cake. It seems like they are very prepared now. We also see this is a domestically produced military comms system used for secure battlefield voice data command coordination. It is built in Iran, so they're not even outsourcing their communication systems in the lead up to this war. It's the Sefer 110. Iran still is doing missile tests across the country today. This is also coming at the time when they tell you all that Iran is running out of missiles. They don't have enough missiles. The U.S. has staged most of their fifth generation Air Force fleet in the Muwafaq Air Base in Jordan. Why there? Because they have this naive notion that Iran doesn't have enough medium-range ballistic missiles, and that the amount of missiles that they do have are going to be reserved for striking Tel Aviv and or U.S. warships off the coast of Iran. I think they have more than enough. They've been doing these missile tests with long-range, medium-range missiles each and every day in the lead up to this conflict. I don't think they'd be wasting those missiles like that if they had such a short supply. Now, the last point I want to bring up here in this story is that these Chinese satellite images from Mizar Vision have completely exposed the U.S. placement of Air Force assets in the region. Iran basically knows where every single U.S. Air Force pilot takes his morning shit. They've got, look at this. These are all the F-35s, fifth generation, Growler electronic warfare jets. We've got new photos out today from the Saudi base, the Prince Sultan Air Base, Boeing E-3G Sentries, KC-135 refueling aircraft, C-130 tactical airlift aircraft. Those are always there. But we even have photos of the air defense systems at the various bases across the Middle East now. China is really, I think they're doing a lot. They're doing the most. They've also got that Chinese spy ship, which is going to help the Iranians detect naval movements from the U.S. Navy. They had that there during the 12-day war. They have it there right now. And oil prices are responding exactly how you'd imagine if war is about to break out. They've gone from $65 to $71 a barrel. And if the shooting starts, it's going to fly. It's going to fly, and it's going to fly quick. And I think we're about there. So it's coming. Just a matter of when. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.